Hi, and welcome to BrokerTools, where we unpack the tools, systems, and strategies that help brokers optimize the way they work. I'm Katie, your host, and today we are going to discuss how to master community marketing. Joining me for this conversation is Steve from Learn Awesome. He has spent years perfecting the art of social marketing, not to be confused with social media marketing, but leveraging the local events via speaking, sponsoring, or just being a local hero. Steve has helped businesses transform what they know into content nuggets that inspire action, from taking live events, recordings, and converting that into online education, or having fully built online learning experiences. If sharing your awesomeness is important to you, then this episode is for you. Steve, welcome back.
Dang, what an intro, huh? And fun fact, like we tried this already, but it's
Yeah.
we got bitch slapped by the internet.
And I was like, you know what? I'm a big universe girl, and I actually think
Yes.
it's what we need, because as much as we had a good lineup of conversation, one of the things that you mentioned to me in our pre-discussions was becoming a local hero. And I think I've spoken a lot about lead generation, but that's a lot of online stuff. And now in the world of AI, being with people, making sure people in your local community just as, I guess, nourished by your humanness, I think it's probably going to be key as we go forward.
Yeah, and I think my mood today is reflective of the fact that a lot of people don't want to be human anymore. And it's one of the things that AI is robbing us of, is the thing that allows AI not to replace us. We're refusing to do it out of laziness and just maybe fear of what people will think if we keep being human. And a lot of people then say the same thing, like, I am having trouble generating leads online. Get offline, go outside, go to your local cafe, and I will guarantee you that if you had the right system, so you had the right tech that helped you capture leads, I could get you 20 leads from your local cafe in an hour of conversing with humans in the real world. Like, wake up, it's time. Like, it's so it's scary. The apocalypse is coming. Woo!
Well, at least we don't have to batten down our hatches and hope that it's not like a zombie, like the dead people walking kind of apocalypse,
Yeah.
because that's not what we want. But I guess this is fundamental, because at the end of the day, AI can't pay us like humans do.
Mm.
And the more you automate, as great as automation is, and obviously I live for it and I live in it, it doesn't pay your way, and it doesn't close sales, it doesn't do things. And so conversations, community.
I think that's the challenge, right? Is that you can't exist in 2025 and beyond without automation, without AI. So your humanness is going to be augmented by AI or tech in some way, shape, or form for you to be able to do what you do at scale. So in
Mm.
order, there'll come a point where you can't just do human shit. You have to bring tech in to be able to support you. And the expectation of the world is that the efficiency and the speed that you're able to respond to people, you can't do that as a human. You need to be the tech to support that. But but yeah, the other part is to be you need to do the stuff the robots can't do, and people buy from people. And so
Yeah.
if everyone's using ChatGPT to write their stuff, or if everyone's using an automation to book calls into their calendar, why would I choose broker A over broker B? It's a human thing. I either trust someone, I resonate with their personality, or I like them as a human being. I had a chat with a financial tech startup. They're going to change the world of financial planning and funds management. Watch that space. That's gonna be awesome when that happens. But I made a joke because I did a contract years back with JB Weir, and this is like the most elite brand in Australian wealth management. It's almost 200 years old, and that's all they do is they rely on that brand. And the advisors who give financial advice and who look after their clients' coins, they are boring as batshit. Like, and they know this. And if any of your JB Weir advisors are watching, hey, nice to see you, but I told you this face to face anyway, so they're not surprised to hear it. But for me, I always joked with them and said, if I ever had enough money to be a client of JB Weir, I would want to talk to the advisor who goes surfing on the weekend, not the one who goes to art galleries and drinks fine red wine. I want to know who shredded some green room action down the coast on the weekend. And it's that personal connection that would make me choose broker A over broker B. And so, yeah, the human part is the thing that's going to make you competitive in the future, because everyone's going to have access to the same tools. So how you make people feel is the superpower now.
Yes, and I couldn't agree more. When you were talking about it, I was thinking my early days of whatever I was doing. So I started in social media marketing before most people even knew what a tweet was. I'm so ancient. But my best leads came from when I did what they call WAGs out here in Brisbane. There's an area called Manly, and it's a yachting club. And every Wednesday, you could just board any boat that you wanted and just race it. I got so many leads just from doing that, and I wasn't even trying. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't selling a thing, but because we were just out there having fun, racing boats and having random conversations, they brought me and then I think I made a network of like 3 people who just became my referral partners.
Yeah, amazing.
And I think this is where doing local things, being part of your community, that's what you're really saying.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And referral marketing is like, it stood the test of time, right? It stood the test of time for a reason, because if you do a good job and people like you, they're going to tell people about you. And that's where all the marketing agencies shit the bed a little bit and go, we'd be out of a job if everyone just got good at having conversations with people in their local area. But for some reason we don't. And that's the bit that's really concerning, is that you don't have permission from me, at least anyway. Like, I'll shut it down real quick when I speak to people, to say, I want leads, but I'm not prepared to talk to humans to do it. See ya. Good luck. Like, enjoy extinction, because you're not going to be one of those people that obviously care about your clients enough to, have a chat to them before they become your client. Like, that's the whole essence of relationship marketing, relationship in general, is you've got to connect with people. If you don't want to connect with people, just sit back and watch as your world evaporates and the robots will take over. Because it's even cool to see, like, some of our customer service clients that train customer service, they're saying that AI has more empathy than humans. We can't even succeed at our own thing anymore. Robots have learned how to do that. Game over.
What would you say are some of the biggest hurdles to getting out into the community? That would be, and then how should someone? Because I guess I obviously, and I'm actually highly introverted, but I can have conversations when I feel comfortable and safe to do so. And so I think there's a lot of probably people who are similar to me who struggle with the first initial step over to get into the community.
100%. I mean, I get told all the time, "Oh, it's so easy for you, Steve. You've got the gift of the gab." Yeah, but I manufactured that years ago. Like, I wasn't born with these skills. I just forced myself to, evolve, and that's by putting yourself in situations. But I think the biggest thing that people have got is there's just fear of judgment, right? Is that, if I put myself out there, people won't like me. Correct. People don't like me, and I love that. I mean, Katie, we've gone through parts where we haven't liked each other at all. And then we're back into the hangout stage, which is cool. That's the beauty of relationships, is that not everyone is going to be your customer. And if you think in that sort of fearful mindset of going, if I have a conversation with someone, they have to become my customer or it's pointless, you're going to miss out on a lot of things, and you're not going to connect at the level that you need to build the trust to then have them become your customer. So I guess that fear of judgment is probably the biggest thing. And the cure for that is just to go out there and start conversing with people. Coffee shops are the perfect place for that.
Yeah, I would have to completely agree with that. And I think I'm just thinking back to my early days of networking. My uncle was who forced me out. Like, he said, you have to do this because it's the only way your business is going to go. And so I attended one thing, and I just decided that if I just make one contact, that's my win, and I can exit. I'm like, but having a conversation with someone. So I think my easy win was shouting the person beside me a drink so I could have a conversation, which is really, really hard because I guess if you're shy or something like that, just starting that initial step can be the thing that
million trillion %. But the frame that you come at it from is, it can't be that you're trying to close deals with these people. You've got to genuinely make it about the person that you're going to have a conversation with. And that then de-risks a whole heap of stuff, right? It's like, I was at my local cafe on the weekend, and one of the baristas was wearing a velvet t-shirt.
Yep.
Dude, that's just asking for me to converse with you. You know, it
Yeah.
reminds me of George Costanza in Seinfeld, where it was the the cashmere sweater and the red dot episode. If you can't remember that, go and watch it. Binge watch Seinfeld. That'll teach you how to have just random conversations with people in the street. But yeah, you just look for an opportunity to open the door. And it's like it could be what someone's wearing, what someone's doing, what they're like. Someone had ordered like a strawberry matcha coffee. What that defies the laws of liquid, right? But I'm curious, so I just go, hey, sorry to interrupt you. What on earth is that? Should I try that? And they're like, no, you if you like coffee, try this, and then off you go. 5 minutes later, it's like, oh, what do you do with yourself? Oh, I do this, I do that, blah 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 blah. And then if you're a broker, after that, you could then ask them a question about something relevant to whether or not they would be suitable to be one of your customers, which would be, what's your I do lending, or I help people insert problem that you solve. How to like where are you at with that? And then you're off to the races, right? But you can't just open the batting with, hey, you should be my client, here's my contact info, book a discovery call. You'll get crickets that way. But yeah, if you're
Yeah.
curious, you'll absolutely get a lot more out of it.
And I think that is the key thing, is curiosity, because stepping into any opportunity, even if you're a shy person, is just starting with curiosity to learn more about the other person, not necessarily what you have to offer. And even if part of this process is about lead generation for you, I think brand awareness is part of that whole being part of the community. And sometimes you can do more and get better results from indirect marketing than actual going straight up for lead generation. Which I think is probably the best next part, because this is what you do super well, which is public speaking, finding events to do that. And you don't only just do that in live events in local community, you also do it online.
Yeah, and I think I mean, you can do the one-to-one is really important. So having 100 conversations is 100 chunks of your time to be able to do that. Versus, can you get on a stage somewhere? Can you get into an event and captivate a room full of people? Could you go to a company? Right. So you just you've got to completely think outside the box. Is where are the people that I need to talk to? Right. So a real pro tip, and this comes from Aussie Home Loans. Right, love them, hate them. I am a massive fan of the way that the Adam King, the King, what a cool name, the way that he operates marketing at Aussie in the Victorian state is unbelievable. I would love to be an Aussie franchise in the Victorian state, because what Adam does really well is he looks at where is everyone not going competitively, but where is everyone indirectly that would eventually need a mortgage from someone at Aussie, right? And so without giving away any of his tricks of the trade, but again, none of this is proprietary. It's just clever, right? But I would look at it and say, hey, if you're getting married, if you would want to have a great wedding, right? That's the dream of people. I spoke to someone, they're spending 130 grand on their wedding. Holy hand grenades, Batman. That's out of control. So where do they go? They go to a wedding expo. Wedding expos have booths for wedding planners, florists, events, all of this sort of stuff. I guarantee you there is not a mortgage broker in that room offering to help them refinance their home to extract some equity to pay for the greatest wedding of all time. If you're there, ta-da, like, you're welcome. But very rarely are people thinking in that way, because you're more likely to say, oh, I need to go to the home show. I need to go to all of the things where everyone else is. And that's why marketing gets so expensive, or advertising gets so expensive, because everyone's trying to compete for the same group of people, but the same people that are at the home show are also getting married. So it's just finding other places to do that. And I know we talked about public speaking, but it sort of shifts into going where the masses of your audience are and being able to go one to many instead of just one to one. Do both, but think outside the box as to where you could go to get eyeballs or get attention or start conversations or get people to express their interest in what you do.
Yeah, I mentioned public speaking, but the way I look at public speaking is those events. Whether you're actually on stage or in a stall, you're having to talk to bunches of humans who are walking past you, and you're striking up a conversation, and you're making sure that people know or get to learn something that you can offer.
100%. But then the tech comes in at those group places, right? So you've got something to capture their information, but you've got to you've got to give to offer, right? So you've got to give something in return for them giving you very precious information, like their contact information. People don't just give that anymore. So you could do something like give something away that's completely irrelevant to what you do, or you could look at ways to how can I give something of value in the form of, say, education, in the form of, say, information, or in the form of like a comparison where people are able to see, holy shit, I didn't know dot dot dot. And so if you're the person that gives that bridge or provides that knowledge, then you gain trust, you gain knowledge, and you gain likability. And then as a result, you get permission to proceed to the next stage of the relationship, which 5 stages later, they may become a customer or a client of yours. But it is a slow burn process, which is why you have to have lots of different fires or coals in the oven to be able to, keep the plate spinning and not rely on just one thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a broker, you understand diversification. And the element of this is what we call social diversification, I
Mhm,
guess.
mhm, mhm.
Because again, the people who come back to you are the people who actually like you. And if they feel like they're part of your community, that changes everything.
Yep.
And if you've built this way of relating to people, whether you go to these local events and again, you were giving that wedding planner story. I want to interject that I was a wedding planner at one stage of my life. That was actually my very first entrepreneurial journey. But and so I get that whole landscape of what you're actually talking about. And having multiple people advertising in the same landscape, that's not really going to help you or serve you. But if you go, say, like you said, a wedding planning event, and you're helping a niche peer group, that just transforms the way you work. And then over the time, because you've gathered their email, you can nurture them through email. Then you can send them through these other channels like YouTube videos or other educational contents, because you've gone through and built in this whole community way of relating.
Totally.
Nice. If we were to go through this whole journey and arc of how to become the local hero of your community, what would you think it would be? Like, if you were where to start, where to go next?
Well, I know the answer because we build local hero campaigns for brokers, right? So we've done the analysis and we've understood what it takes, right? And like any superhero, right? So just think about any comic book or superhero, right? That's one of my key interview questions when I hire people inside of Learn Awesome is, what's your favorite superhero? If you can't answer it, yeah, you're unlikely to unlikely to proceed to the next round of hiring. But if you think about the hero arc of a comic book or a superhero, if you think about Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, whoever, insert your favorite superhero here, what is it about them that has made them a hero? And it's usually their origin story, right? So story and marketing is weaponizable, and like pouring a good story and a good story arc is like the petrol that you pour on the flame to get a raging fire of attention. But yeah, what is, I guess the question that you have to ask yourself is, what is your origin story that got you to becoming a broker? Now, fun fact, if you lead with, I don't give a shit about my clients, I'm just here for the trail, bro, local area marketing is not for you. Go back to digital and pay $500 for a qualified lead and hope that you retain them. But yeah, it's not a place for you if you just got into this to make a truckload of money. It's not a judgment on your reason. It's just, this isn't suitable for you because you'd never be able to authentically pull it off. You might be able to
True.
bullshit people for a while, but it's just the wrong reason to go into a story arc like this. But if you have a if you and I think it's like, I look at it, maybe another way to look at it is your altruistic reason to be a capitalist, right? So I think altruistic capitalism is the beautiful balance, right? Is you need to have a reason for doing what you do as well as making money. Because the more money that you make, the more impact that you can create altruistically. And altruism is basically just like, your reason for existing and giving back and supporting people, helping and all that sort of stuff. So Yeah, I think there needs to be that balance, right? Is it's okay to make money because the more that you make, the more impact that you can have, but you need to have a reason for existing. And that's your origin story. And if you can capture that using a tool like Riverside, 14-day free trial, hashtag, affiliate link in the comments of this, of the show notes from Katie over here. But you could use something like this. And what you find here is that the answers hide in plain sight. Podcasts are so successful, recordings and videos of podcast interviews are so successful is because I'm not speaking directly at the camera trying to sell you something. Instead, I've been asked a question and I've been given time to sort of share it in my own words. Now, and Katie's spoken to Victor previously to this, Katie's spoken to a heap of other people, they would answer the same question differently. And the difference or the delta between the way that I answer something and the way that someone else answers something is the opportunity for people who resonate with me to like me, and people who resonate with someone else to like someone else. And if we're all the same, then why don't we just sit back and let AI take over? Like that's the bit. So these vehicles are hidden in plain sight, right? This is a vehicle that you can use. But why you do what you do is the thing that separates you. And that's why, out of all the 22,000 brokers in this country, everyone is going to have a slightly different origin story. And that origin story is going to be the thing that helps you connect with people that become your customers eventually, as well as disqualify people who are not going to resonate with you at all, which will save you a lot of time and effort. That's a wiser Steve pro tip.
Yes, and I guess this is the thing, because obviously over the last episodes, all the conversations have been a version of lead generation or marketing
Yeah.
of sorts. But there's just so many ways you can do this. And how do you take that ecosystem and make it work best for you, is one of those things. And where being, I guess, this local hero means that I actually wrote this down somewhere as in you're actually utilizing your community, like as in the people maybe in your area to do your brand marketing for you, because they're like, oh, I saw this dude at this event. I think you should talk to him. I have no idea about it, but because it was such a random event, one, it's memorable, it's stuck in your mind that that person exists. Then in the Rolodex of conversations, because you're like a human Google, boop,
Yep.
it's come out. And I guess that's the whole purpose of being integrated, but like as in being part of your community in a deep way that can make all the difference.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And it's a case of if you just focus on having the conversations and you either have the tech to support it or you have an agency that specializes in local area activations and campaigns, then that's your justification to just focus on the conversations, right? But if you want to try and do it all, then there's just some paths that you have to tread. You have to experiment a bit. But the beauty of it is that conversations don't attract the currency that you guys care the most about, which is money. So a lot of brokers that we talk about when it comes to like launching a local area campaign is like, oh, it's expensive, where, or it's like, oh, you got to spend $2,000 a month on Facebook ads. Oh, where it's too expensive. Cool. The cafe down the road that you get your coffee at every day, you could spend 30 minutes of your time. So trade a different asset instead of cash, trade time, and see how many people you can connect with. If you really want to like earn the right to have a conversation, buy me a coffee and I'll give you 30 seconds to talk to me about what you do. So there's so many arguments for why brokers who are like, I need more clients, but it's just it baffles me sometimes that the clients are hiding in plain sight. They're sitting in line with you at the local fish and chip shop on a Friday night, waiting for their dim sims and potato cakes, right? They're waiting for their soy oxygen free latte at the cafe on a Saturday, or they're at the footy ground watching their kids do Auskick or play cricket or anything like that. So all of this stuff is there, but it still interests me as as I guess like in the world of human behavior as to why, if it's there, why don't people do it? And it's that combination of not knowing and maybe a bit of fear of judgment and losing that touch with society a little bit, or humanity.
Maybe. And I think that, I guess, at the end of the day, this would be good for people to tell us, why do you think, if you're not out in your community doing it, why? Because I guess what you're ultimately saying is, one, you do need to have a why, because you're not going to be consistent if you don't even have a why, because that helps you overcome so many other hurdles. But again, coming back to your cafe, I remember somebody I know who was a financial planner. But I mean, obviously the industries cross over, but they made us more like assessment offers. And they would sit in their cafe and do those assessments. So if you even partner with a cafe and say, hey, every Friday, I'm happy to offer anybody, you can still be a part of your community in that way as well.
Absolutely. Yep. And the way that you do that's super important because you need the cafe owner. So I've done the research. So again, because we do these as a service, I've gone and spoken to all of the different places that you could potentially activate. Now, it's all well and good that you think you deserve the right to have conversations with people in someone else's business, but you are in someone else's house. So I would encourage you to very, very quickly, if you're thinking about doing something like this, go and have a chat to the owner of the place that you want to plant yourself and start having conversations and at least let them know what you're doing, but also look at ways to make them want you to be there. For example, if I gave you $1,000, how many cups could you put my face on? There's a question for you. Because all of a sudden, then there's something in it for the cafe, right? And
Yeah.
as if in 2025, a cafe where everything's competitive, cost of goods is through the roof, it is unbelievably difficult to run a profitable cafe. Would a cafe owner say, no, I do not want $1,000? so, so again, you can pay to play to speed up the process, or you can go a little bit slower, but might have to just be mindful of being told to leave a facility if you are being a bit of a menace, having conversations with too many people. A conversation whore, if you will.
Balance. Everything is balance.
Balance, right? Or you can speed run the whole thing by paying someone to do it with you. Right? That's that. I don't think that's the time scale, right? Is that you can DIY and you just need the knowledge and the path, and off you go. Cool. You
Yep.
can get it done with you. So you can have someone sit with you and support you through this, or you can just get it done for you, and all you have to do is just show up. Like there's so many ways, but the currencies that you trade are ranging from time to money, or both.
And I guess at the end of the day, if you're going to spend your time in your own mental head thinking about lead generation, you may as well, instead of being thinking, actually be active in your community and finding the places and people who actually want to hear what you have to say, even if it's indirectly or through association. It's really one, knowing how first to get out into your community. But then, like what you had mentioned earlier around tech stacks, is having that whole tech stack to support the next part. So this is your marketing funnels where after you've done the online conversation, where do they go next?
Yeah. Yeah, and that has to align. And just be a couple of things have come to mind there. It has to align with the problem that you solve for the community, right? So the community doesn't give a shit that you're a mortgage broker. I'm so sorry to burst. If that bursts your bubble, if you have a visceral reaction to that, good. Like that's good. You're still alive. Fantastic. But I've hit a nerve for some people because they don't give a shit that you're a broker, right?
Yeah.
And I've spoken to a lot of brokers who say we want to be the trusted advisor at all stages of our client's wealth journey. You do not have permission to be anywhere near my wealth if you just have a conversation with me off the bat at a cafe, right? You have to earn that right. And the first way that you earn that right is you give me something. You've got to give me something to prove to me that you know what you're doing. Then maybe you have to do something else. Maybe you have to save me some money. Maybe you have to, look after me. Don't send me a freaking Christmas card and say that you've supported me when you've not even spoken to me for the whole year. You're welcome for the trail. But for me as a customer, I need to know and trust that you are the person for me. Because if not, I'll go to the person who invests the time and the effort to make sure that they actually value me as a client, me as a customer. And that's where, as you get bigger, it's harder to do that on a personal level. So that's where you need tech to do a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the manual, the mundane tasks to allow you to be more human. So I think that's really important. And then using your time wisely, be very aware of the networking groups out there, right? Because that is just a glorified circle jerk where everyone tries to sell to each other. So you'd be having a 20-minute conversation with Barry the builder, but Barry's trying to also simultaneously size you up to sell you a new extension on the back of your property. So just be careful there of that. There are good networking groups out there, but just be mindful of like the intentions of other people being there are the same for you, which is I want to grow my business. So that can really waste a lot of your time if you're thinking that they're really interested in you when in actual fact they're just trying to wait for you to stop talking so that they can sell you their shit.
Yeah, and I guess, and I think most times people have had these conversations through, I guess, the marketing world. But if you've never entered the marketing world,
Mm,
they liken it to dating. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you can't pitch your whole suite of offering to a person right at the get-go.
Mm,
They need to warm up to get to know and like you over time. And if you think of it as a whole concierge process of I said concierge, but like that old school dating system. um, Courting, that's the word I was looking for. It's time and touch points. And
mm.
Victor and I were just saying this on the other one. I think he said he called it like the 7-Eleven, but it's like you need at least 7 to 13 touch points, I understand now, before people can know, like, and trust you and move
100%.
through that.
Yep. And in real life can speed run that. So that's very digitally orientated with people needing to see content, and that also then opens Pandora's box of you have to then post organically. These marketing peeps that are like you have to post 3 times a day on all channels, like they can get stuffed. Because if you do the story arc right and you nail your reason for existing and that resonates with your audience, you'll speed run that a heap quicker, right? And if you can then tie that into the problem that you solve for your ideal customer and then stitch that into a compelling 30-second statement, you win. Like you'll absolutely destroy anyone who's still trying to figure out that stuff if you can articulate your reason for existing, the problem that you solve, how you and your mechanism for solving it, you win.
Yeah, actually, the more you say that, and condensing time. I used to do PR for a guy who ran a pickup group. um, he was a magician, so this was another business. I ran his magician side, so just for context awareness. But he said you could take a person on a date 7 times or take them to 7 different locations within a day, and that would make them feel like they had gotten to know you over time. Obviously, in a business sense, you don't want to necessarily do that type of arc
Mhm.
and things like that, but it is those types of touch points where you could have a conversation again at coffee, but then you connect back at midday saying, hey, it was great to have a conversation. That's your second touch point.
Yeah.
If you need, and then later down the week, oh, I found this video and I thought this was relevant to you, and then it's just feeding in. Within a week you would have had those 7 touch points,
Spot on. Yep.
and you've
And
just speed
congruency is
round.
super important, right? So
Yeah.
the underpin there is that your intentions cannot shift. And if you've presented a version A of yourself in real life and then version B appears, or I go to your website and I hit a 404 error and the page doesn't exist, or your what you've told me doesn't connect online, then that incongruency is actually going to work against you and it's actually going to enhance distrust. So this is the augmented by tech, right? Is you need to have your house in order before you start rolling this out, because people will be looking for you to not be who you say you are, and they'll find anything that they can that they can hold over you. So be aware of that, is that if your reason for existing is to genuinely, like, because maybe you were used and abused by a bank, and as a result of that you didn't want the rest of your life or anyone else to suffer the same way that you suffered. The last day before settlement, the bank changed their rules on you, you got shafted, lost heaps of money. You want to avoid that for everyone. Now, if that's your Robin Hood sort of hero arc story that you're doing, and then you go onto your website and you're a raging capitalist showing off your Rolex and your boats and all this other stuff, thanking your customers with a Christmas card that's like, thanks for your trail, see you later, you're going to struggle to have that trust. But if the digital side of you is aligned with the real side of you,
Mhm.
off to the races, right?
Yeah. And I guess from a time consumption point of view, a lot of people think going out in public is time. So how would you suggest to make it effortless?
How would you make going out in public effortless?
Well, I guess because from, I guess, the experience I've had and from other people in this situation, it's I've got to go now do this. And then it's another thing on the to-do list and all of those things. I'm sure that there's a way to not overwhelm yourself.
Sure. Maybe go and work at your local cafe for a couple of hours on a Friday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday and do that every week. And then set a goal to have a chat with 3 people that walk in the cafe. That's it, right? You've got to recognize that this is a very lucrative exercise when done well. And so if you care about growing your business, if you care about scaling it, then it just becomes a part of the tax of doing business. And you can speed run a lot of it. You can't speed run the actual conversation piece. You have to have those unless you don't want to be the face of your business, but that would be a silly thing to do. Like that's where you and your story versus you and your brand story. No one gives a shit about Magical Mike's brokerage and that brand story. They care about Magical Mike. What made Magical Mike build that business? That's the story that they care about. And that personal relationship is the thing that's going to move the needle, not at Mike's magical, whimsical mortgage broking firm. We're committed to blah, blah, blah. Here's our mission and vision statement. Whoop-de-doo. It's I'm going straight to the about page and I want to see a video that tells me about why Magic Mike got into the mortgage industry. And I want to meet all the stuff that's interesting to you, right? Because maybe I'm a pet lover, right? And so I love when people and some people have overused this, but if I had a dog, my dog would be on the Learn Awesome website as the chief cute officer or some random funny shit like that. But I'd go one step further and I'd actually make like an AI augmented video of my dog talking as a key player in my community. But if I'm a dog lover and I've got a mortgage, guess who I'm going to give my refi to? I'm going to give it to Magic Mike and Buster, the golden retriever, because I saw him on your website. And then I saw Buster and Mike at the cafe because you bring the dog to have coffee with. And then you put a little QR code around the dog's collar, scan here to get a better deal. Boom, you're off to the races, right? That's worth $1 million right there. 100%.
Yeah.
I could sell that. QR codes on dogs.
Actually, there is a dog tag that does have it, but it's more for their medical information than it is for businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that balance between that and tech. But yeah, that would be the fastest way that you could just inject that into your life. If you're going out and getting a takeaway coffee, switch it for a dine in and spend 2 hours just doing some of your admin that you have to do anyway at the cafe. And if anyone interesting walks past, just be like, hey, how you doing? What's happening? People got to wait for coffee, right? People got to wait for their takeaways. What are they going to do? Scroll on Instagram or have a chat with you?
And you can probably put you can see how people are. So it's not like you're interrupting someone's day. Because if they're obviously not interested in a conversation, don't engage. Because that's not the best person to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. But you need something to have a go at. So it's like, are they wearing something cool? Do they have I haven't seen an Android phone since 2002. How's that go? How's that work for you? Boom. Like you've just got to find something to start the conversation. And once the conversation starts, you'll know whether or not they want to keep going. But there's no harm in having a crack and engaging, right? Worst thing.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck off. Okay. And you just put your head back down and you start slaying the keys on your keyboard doing admin.
Which is what you're, I guess, ultimately, hopefully there to do anyway.
Correct. So either way you win. It's just a way to give, like, your computer can be your little safety blanket till you're ready to leave it at home and just walk the streets and stop people and talk to them.
Completely. And I guess the way I see what you have spoken about, and I guess this hopefully is a helpful thing for anybody who is looking to become the local hero of their community, is that if we think about it as a whole process from start to finish, sure, you're going out and having a coffee with the person. You might have struck up a conversation, but then hopefully you're logging some key pieces of information that you know about them. If you've hopefully got their either LinkedIn or other contacts, so obviously consent matters to be in further conversation with them. But then it start with curiosity, but it actually is about following through in care. Because if you don't care about the person and you're really just there for the lead, it's not really going to translate over time. They're just going to notice and feel like that they're being used for an opportunity rather than being engaged in an opportunity.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example, right? So you could be like, "Oh, hey, how's the weather today? Great. Oh, hey, have you got a home loan? Yeah. Okay, gotta go. See you. Bye." Like useless conversation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas it's like, "Oh, hey, really love your velvet t-shirt. That's really cool. You're a big deal. Oh, thanks so much. Rah, rah, rah. What are you doing here? I do this." And then when you get the opportunity to explain what you do, instead of saying I'm a mortgage broker, let's use the financial planner because I've got a good example for that, which is an example of how we do it is I'm I work in finance and I'm committed to saving this community this much money by overpaying on insurances. Do you have life insurance or do you have those insurances floating around? No. Oh, okay. Well, cool. Or if yes, well, I'd love to like here's my little thing that you can fill out that has I can tell you whether or not you're overpaying. That's my commitment to you. That's my commitment to everyone this week. Is I'm just making sure that you're not overpaying. The end.
nice.
The
And
end.
it's a
Like
it's simple opt-in to having, I guess, that free assessment.
yeah, free assessment's great, but it's got to be tied to something, right? So just pumping free assessments in people's face, not going to work. But if you weaponize it with a story and address their problem or their pain, then that's where it becomes really powerful. And that's where the real gains are won in the community is being able to do that.
Yes, and as you were saying that, it made me realize that the gift of being in a community is that there are a lot of other business leaders in the community.
Mhm.
So if you've already won a person who happens to be a business leader in their community, then they're going to invite you to their network, which is that expansion of local hero or heroine.
Yeah. And it's worthwhile, right? Because if you think about the barbecue, the Friday night barbecue, the mums group that's catching up for brunch on a Friday morning, like, are you the person that gets referred to when people say, "Hey, does anyone know a dot dot dot? Insert your profession here." If you're not that person in your community, you're not doing a good enough job, and there's no amount of Facebook ads that could get you that position. What gets you that position is the way that you treat the people who are currently in your world or the people that come into your world. Because if I have a good experience with you, I am very likely to tell my friends and family about the experience. The example would be, and in the mortgage world, right? I think annual reviews are the biggest like joke that you could do to a customer and the most reactive thing that you could do as part of your retention strategy. The reason I say that is because what you're doing is you're basically saying, I've done 4/5 of nothing. See, I've pared back my cursing because you know I get sweary when I get passionate about stuff. But hey, I've done 4/5 of nothing about you this whole year, but I feel obligated to just show some value to you. So hey, I'm going to book you in for an annual review. By the way, here's an attached form. Can you fill out if anything's changed in your history, please? And I'll see you there because I'm really busy. What a terrible experience versus you could be proactive and you could actually call them and just say, "Hey, I've been monitoring your loan all year and what I've noticed today is that you're actually overpaying by 3 grand a year. I don't need you to come in, but I just want you to know that I'm looking out for you. If you want to do something about this, I just need you to give me approval and I'll go and get that done for you." So the difference being is that second option, I would go and tell I'd be sitting around and be like, "What happened this week? Oh my God, you'll never believe this. My broker called me and
Mhm.
stopped me from overpaying by 3 grand. It was incredible. I wasn't even expecting the call. It out of nowhere, just like, "Hey, I've got your back. Like, this is what's happening." And so there's two ways that you can do that. You can do that manually. So you could be monitoring your loans all day, every day, and like have admin do it or pay someone offshore or onshore to do it for you. That's silly. Like you don't need that because there's tech like Stride that does say, monitoring loan books and making sure that the customer's loans are still competitive, right? So that's where you would just be like, oh, hey, I've been looking after you. Boom, there's the demonstration, right? And that's a loyalty creation moment that then gives you the spotlight at the conversation table around the barbecue. And what that's worth to you is I did some numbers, like I crunched some numbers, but there's so much variability in the home loan or mortgage space that it's like anyone that picks a number gets crucified. So bring your pitchforks, I don't care. But effectively, the value of someone over 10 years, like a customer, one customer that you've got is worth about 50 grand, because the combination of trail that you get on their loan by just retaining
Mhm.
them in general, cool. But the refinance cycle over 10 years is approximately like 3 times there'll be a refinance during that 10-year period, which is backed on sort of like data and stuff from the MFAA and the FBAA and a couple of other research papers that came out. So that's cool. And Katie's nodding her head. She's more equipped with this knowledge than I am. So I'm on the right track. But then not only that, is that if you do a good job with people over that 10-year period, you might acquire one referral a year. And that's being really generous, right? Like that's being really conservative. You might get more, but of that, that's then worth one customer retained is like 50 grand worth of income over a 10-year period. Now, that's really important because the cost to acquire new customers versus retain existing ones is staggeringly more. And it keeps getting more and more expensive because the cost of attention is getting more and more expensive. So it's so easy to just do the right thing by your existing peeps, retain them, and then get the benefit of being the star of the show at the parties and at the barbecues and at the mums group brunches, right?
Yeah.
But it's all local. It all starts and finishes locally. So I think the moral of the story is like you need to start focusing, if your intention is to grow your business and have more conversations and get more leads without having to be at the mercy of the marketing agencies that say just 3 more months and the algorithm or Andromeda's like change this and that's why we're not getting you results. Maybe it's just because you're like urinating in a pool of like the same people trying to do the same thing in your particular category. And so, yeah, walk outside, touch grass, get a coffee, and have conversations. You win.
Yeah. And that's the humanity. Like, as in, this is where humans get to be humans because humans sell to humans, AIs
Mm.
don't. If people wanted to continue to have the conversation with you, Steve, where should they go?
Yeah, there's a baby version of me on LinkedIn. So you could go find me on LinkedIn. You could go to Learn Awesome website. You can book some time there. There's some cool little digital experiences that float around on the Learn Awesome website. We've got a choose your own adventure video. There'll be some other ways that you can have a chat with me. But yeah, we love this stuff because at the end of the day, the only reason that I've had any level of success in my career is from the relationships and the conversations that I've had with people. It was not natural for me, but it's become something that has become a superpower, and it can become a superpower for you. You've just got to put in the reps and do the practice. So yeah, I welcome anyone to reach out, have a chat if this resonated with you, and yeah, look forward to creating some more local area heroes.
Nice. Again, thank you for joining us on the pod. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out. If you want us to have another conversation on any other parts of the conversation that we already had, let us know. And we're probably more than happy to do that. Again, thank you, Steve, for joining me on this conversation about how to become a local hero. And we will catch up with you soon.
Cool.